discussion, we got assigned that chapter where Odysseus strings his bow, right?
That's right. And it all started when Penelope assigned suitors the task to win her hand in marriage.
Right, and the task was to string Odysseus' bow, which was pretty much impossible.
That's right, and as expected, none of the suitors could string the bow. And then Odysseus came in dressed as a beggar and shot it perfectly through all the axes.
Right, and that's when Odysseus finally revealed himself, and then with Telemachus killed all those suitors and was finally reunited with his family.
Correct. Now let's get into the questions.
So our first question is, how do we see Penelope's own intelligence and crafty mind in this chapter? Oh, and do we think she's really given up?
Well, I think she showed her crafty mind and intelligence by picking that specific challenge because she knew that no one but Odysseus would be able to complete it.
True, but remember that one part that says, the goddess Athena with her blazing eyes inspired Penelope, Icarus' daughter, to set the bow with its gleaming iron axes out before the suitors, waiting in Odysseus' hall. This tells us that it really wasn't Penelope's intelligence, but that of Athena who inspired her.
Agreed. The gods and goddesses were really the intelligent and crafty ones. And for the second part of the question, I don't think she has given up because she would have given them a much easier task that didn't require a lot of skill or strength. I mean, only Odysseus could do it, not even her son could.
And I agree with you, but I do think as the story continues to grow, she becomes weaker and weaker. Like even at this one part where she's just getting the bow, it says, "Down she sank, laying the case across her knees, and dissolved in tears with a high thin wail, as she drew her husband's weapon from its teeth." I mean, this obviously shows that she's just a complete mess. I mean, just the reminder of her husband's bow makes her upset.
Yeah, I mean, I think now the idea of somebody replacing her husband is becoming more and more real to her. She's been an emotional decline.
Seriously. Another part was where she's just simply reminiscing and she says, "This house where I was once a bride, this gracious house, so filled with the best life that can offer." And then she adds, "I shall always remember it, that I know, even in my dreams." She's clearly quite broken and obviously doesn't like the idea of herself actually giving up on Odysseus, but it sent her to become this an emotional wreck.
Yeah, so overall it's pretty safe to say that she doesn't like the idea of giving up, but it's becoming more and more that he might not be coming back.
And ultimately that's what's making her an emotional wreck.
Okay, so let's get on to our second question. It asks, what do you think of Telemachus' reaction to his mother's announcement? Well, where to begin? I mean, he pretty much has 100 emotions all attacking him at once. First he's angry, and then he's acting like it's a joke, like when he says, "Zeus has robbed me of my wits. My own dear mother, as sensible as she is, says she'll marry again, forsake our house, and look at me, laughing for all I'm worth, giggling like some fool."
Well, the whole thing with the joking and the laughing, I think, was just him trying to cover up his impatience to get the whole thing over with. And then the second was his anger and his thirst to, finally get revenge on the suitors and kill them with his father because they'd had trashed and put all the shame on his house over the past years.
Agreed, and I also think the anger's added when he thinks that nobody should touch the bow besides him or Odysseus, not all these suitors, like when he says, "My father's bow, no Aiken on earth, has more right than I to give it or withhold it as I please."
But remember when he said that line, what was really happening was he was just trying to send Penelope away because he didn't want her to choose the beggar to perform the task because he didn't want her to find out that that was really Odysseus.
Yeah, that's right, and I didn't even think of that, but did you also think that he probably just wants his family to get back together? I mean, the poor boy. He hasn't seen his dad since he was born.
I mean, that's a long time. I couldn't even imagine. I guess Penelope was not the only one in the family that was dealing with an overwhelming amount of emotions. Alright, so our final question is, how do we see the interaction and the importance of the gods in this chapter?
Well, one common theme throughout the entire story is the suitors calling on the gods and asking them for help throughout this impossible task. Like when one of them says, "Father Zeus, bring my prayer to pass. Bring my prayer to pass. Let the master come, some god guide him now."
And that's also like this one part where one of the suitors, while they've been practicing or trying to complete this all day, said to the others, "Give the bow rest for today. Leave it to the gods. At dawn, the archer god will grant victory to the man he favors most."
So their influence and importance was basically that they controlled who won this impossible task. I mean, that's at least what the suitors thought.
Well, I think that the gods had such power, strength, and control over the suitors and just all human beings in general that made them put so much trust and reliance in the gods. They basically believed that they controlled their fate.
Yeah, and I think one other scenario is Athena's huge role in this story. I mean, she was obviously Odysseus' favorite god or goddess. I mean, if it wasn't for her, he may have never gotten home.
And also, if it wasn't for Athena, Odysseus would have never been put in the beggar's body. And if he was never put in the body, he would have been instantly revealed to the suitors, which, who knows what that could have led to.
Yeah, and also if it wasn't for Athena, Penelope may have never been inspired with this idea of that certain task. And it also could have led to bad things like Penelope getting remarried before she was reunited with her beloved Odysseus.
And as you said, if it wasn't for the gods and goddesses, even though they put him through tons of burdens and tons of struggles, he would have never gotten home, which meant his family was never reunited.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious that if it wasn't for the gods, that maybe this storyline could have never happened or would have been completely changed around.
Agreed.
So the story overall had several ups and downs as far as the central character's emotions go.
Right, I mean, we had a weak and sad, yet still hopeful for Odysseus' return Penelope, and then we had an anxious, angry, and jealous all at the same time Telemachus.
Yeah, the ultimate emotion of the story was joy when Odysseus and Penelope got to reunite.
I know, but not without the importance and the influence of the gods. I mean, we have them to thank for all this.
Not gonna lie, those gods, even though they were rude and manipulative sometimes, they were pretty awesome.
Right.
Nice.